Key Arena wasn't perfect. It lacked the luxury suites of newer buildings and had a smaller footprint than modern arenas. Yet, with the average NBA arena capacity around 18,500 in the mid-2000s, Key Arena was only about 9% smaller than the league average in seating capacity. It was a basketball-first facility that created a uniquely intimate home court environment. Teams like the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park have thrived in similar conditions by maximizing pricing and revenue streams, with a seating capacity of around 37,755. Fenway Park is about 10 to 15% smaller than the average modern MLB stadium, which typically seats 41,000 to 43,000 fans. Beyond capacity, Fenway's physical footprint is dramatically smaller than modern ballparks. Fenway sits on roughly 8 acres of urban land, wedged tightly between city streets, while modern ballparks often occupy 9 to 15 acres to accommodate wider concourses, plazas, and modern amenities. Despite its smaller size, Fenway remains one of baseball's most successful and iconic venues because of premium ticket pricing, high demand, and historic significance. Fenway proves that a smaller capacity and footprint doesn't automatically doom a venue financially. It's a strong example showing that Key Arena's size alone didn't have to be fatal for the Sonics if revenue had been managed correctly. Key Arena had far more going than it was often given credit for, and certainly didn't deserve to be scapegoated for the Sonics' departure. Similar to Fenway, it held a historical significance. It was a Seattle landmark originally built for the 1962 World's Fair, with an iconic roofline and a central location at Seattle Center that gave it a cultural and historical value few other NBA venues could match. Far from being a rundown facility like the Oakland Coliseum or Arco Arena in Sacramento, Key Arena had been completely renovated and reopened in 1995, making it only a little over a decade old during the Sonics' final seasons. It was modern and basketball first, with obstructed sightlines, steep seating angles that created an intense home court advantage, and a design tailored specifically for NBA games. Unlike outdated venues plagued by structural problems, Key Arena was fully functional and far superior to several other NBA arenas that remained in use well past 2008. Critics often blame Key Arena's lack of luxury suites and modern amenities, but the truth is, it held up better than several other arenas that lasted much longer. The Kings played in Arco Arena, which had only 30 suites, compared to Key Arena's 58, and the Bucks stayed in the Bradley Center, which had just 27 suites until 2018. In contrast, Key Arena was abandoned by the NBA only 13 years after its 1995 renovations, despite having larger suite count and a strong home court atmosphere.
How does our Key Arena stack up, and how do you like it so far?
It's very special to me. They got a beautiful building. It's intimate, the sight lines are great, the decorations are terrific. I think Seattle should be very proud of what's going on here tonight.
With the myth of Key Arena being a dump debunked, this begs the question, if Schultz's business practices were a real problem, why didn't the NBA step in and tell him to run his team better, rather than lobbying the state to bail him out? The answer lies with David Stern. He wasn't interested in correcting Schultz's mismanagement because his focus was on a larger mission, securing publicly subsidized arenas across the league. By the mid-2000s, Stern was aggressively pushing for modern venues to boost league revenues, and public financing was the key. When he and Schultz walked into Olympia in 2006, they were stepping into a capital that had just approved massive subsidies for Safeco Field and Quest Field. Stern naturally expected similar treatment for Seattle's oldest pro team, viewing it as a chance to raise the NBA's venue standards nationwide. Admitting that the Sonics' real issue was underpriced tickets and poor revenue management would have undermined that campaign, so the league stayed silent, and Key Arena took the blame. By the time it was clear, Schultz had failed, the damage was done, the team was sold, the narrative was set. Critics argued that the city didn't do enough, that the arena was outdated, and that the NBA demanded modern amenities, but the numbers tell a different story. Fans showed up, they filled the seats, they supported the team. The arena wasn't glamorous, but it worked.
Forces it over Malone and Games have played solid ball today. Shep Hawkins hasn't played today. Benoit loses the handle and turns it over.
The Sonics weren't doomed by the building or the city. They were failed by an owner who refused to adjust and a league that looked the other way. The loss wasn't just financial, it was emotional. Fans protested, some cried at the final game, the city grieved, the Sonics were a part of Seattle's identity. They laid the foundation for pro sports in the Northwest and were ripped away not by fate, but by a failure of leadership. It's easy for fans to criticize an owner for being cheap or frugal, but the Sonics story reveals a different side that casual fans might not immediately recognize. After all, no one complains when ticket prices are low. The Sonics relocation wasn't inevitable, it was preventable. The franchise didn't collapse because of a building, it collapsed because a billionaire owner misunderstood the business he was in, and when it started to fall apart, he blamed everything but himself. For years afterward, driving past Key Arena was a gut punch. The red and gold tiles were fading, and the green and gold building that used to house the Sonics team shop still stood there, stripped of its logo, like driving past a gravestone with the name worn away. It was a constant reminder that the Sonics weren't just gone, they had been erased, leaving the city with echoes of what it once was. If Seattle gets another team, let the story be a reminder. Leadership matters. Management matters. The Sonics didn't fail. Their owner did. And the city that bled green and gold deserved far better.